Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and model the screw for the coil. Um, I opened up some of the supporting reference or additional reference that was in the folder, so I would expect you guys to kind of do that as well. You can have it open on the side of your desktop, um, or you can just kind of jump between Maya and the reference. I'm going to leave it open on the left. I'm on a bigger monitor that I'm plugged into, so I have plenty of kind of screen space. If you guys are just on the laptop, I would maybe just jump back and forth between the reference and the model. One thing I'm seeing is that this is not threaded all the way, so you're going to have to make sure that this part of it is extruded without threading, and then this part has threading. And that happens about halfway between here and here. So I created a torus just like in the making a screw thread or the threading video. So I selected this, I moved it up here. I can see I'm going to have to rotate it in Z, so I'm checking that cheat sheet down in the left corner. So I'm just going to go 90 degrees, and that turns it sideways. I'm going to move it right about here, and that threading is going to go from the end here to right about there. So I'm going to open up the settings for that helix, and we can play with some of these settings. So the height needs to change a little bit. So if I click on here and then I'm middle mousing out in the open screen space, and I'm going to change that height just a bit to maybe right there and move it down. So now the helix is going to end about halfway. So after we kind of finish off the threading, we can extrude the rest up. The coils, or let's fix the radius kind of first. So we know these are going to be pretty thin, probably a little bit more than that. So if I hold down control as I'm middle mousing, so I selected the radius and I'm holding down control while middle mousing, that gives me a little bit more kind of control over this. And I'm actually looking at how that lines up with one of the threads. So I think this is about correct for the threading. The width is too much. I'm going to hold down control again, start scaling in that width. Let's hit W and move this and match the reference to the coil. Same thing, middle mouse. So Q, that width again, middle mouse. So right about there is going to be what we want for the threading. The amount of coils, we're going to need a whole lot more. Excuse me, let's move this down here. And let's start giving ourselves say maybe a couple more. It might be more than 20. Let's see what 20 looks like out here. It's going to be more than 20, and I would say this is where it should end, but the threading should come to about here, based on what we're seeing with the reference. So it's good to check this, in multiple views, and it should fit, through that hole eventually is what we're going for. So let's change the height again. And let's make it about right there. A little smaller. So let's do like 2.9. No, let's do like 2.8. So you can get in there and kind of punch in values to kind of figure that out. And then coils, let's put to 30. Let's do 35. Let's do 40. Let's do 45. And I'm going to go with 45. We could actually go through and count these, which isn't a bad thing, if you're ever questioning it or you're first starting out. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, 12, 13. So I have 23 from what I can see, it's probably like, it probably is 30. Like if we're just not seeing through here, we could go ahead and let's call it 30. And then the width or the radius probably has to be a little bit thicker. Oops. Make sure I'm holding down control as I'm doing that. So let's do it to about there. And then I would say now we're going to be able to get the extrude going in between those guys. So I'm going to isolate select on this. So show, isolate select, view selected. And then I can start deleting and then using the bridge tool just like in the last video. So I'm going to delete this front face. I'm going to rotate this guy over here, shift select, and delete there. So I took the end caps off. Now I'm going to start deleting the internal faces, and I'm going to try something maybe a little bit different than the way we did it last time. So let's delete these. So to select an edge loop, I just clicked on one polygon face. So right click to go to face mode, select one face, shift double click the one next to it. That selects the loop, delete it. Let's do the one directly next to it, delete. And let's do this one and this one. All right. And I'm just kind of looking at how this is maybe going to cap off. Okay, so I'm going to go to object mode. I'm going to shift right click and I'm going to use the append to polygon tool. I'm going to do from here to here and hit G because I want to run that again. And we're going to go all the way up top. We're going to do the same thing on the end, and this is going to allow us to use the bridge tool. So from here to here, and this time I'm going to hit return to kind of cancel or finish that off. Now if we right click and go to edge mode, double click here, and I'm just going to use control to deselect that one and deselect the one all the way at the bottom right here, and then shift right click, oops, and I want to bridge. And that's going to bridge between all those polygons. So in one operation we can do all of those instead of using like append to polygon and trying to get those. I'm going to hit Q to quit out of that tool's settings. If I click this edge down here and hit F for frame, that's a kind of easier way to be able to rotate kind of around that stuff. So that works kind of nice. I'm going to take these two edges right here, and I'm going to extrude these down, and I'm going to take this vert, hold down V and snap it there, this vert, hold down V and snap it here, and I'm going to hold down V and just move it in X to snap it. So all that's in one line right there. And this actually might be similar to what we did before, but let's just see how this turns out. And we'll do the same thing up top. So I could select one of these verts and hit F for a frame, and now it's going to rotate around that vertice. Just makes it a little easier for navigation. Right click, go to edge mode, select those two edges, shift right click, go to extrude, I'm going to hit W, move this guy straight down, right click, go to vertex, select this one, hold down V and snap it, this one, hold down V, and notice when I'm snapping directly one vert to another, I just grab from the center because that allows it to move kind of any direction. I'm going to grab this one and hold down V, but just grab the red handle, which is your X. But I'm going to hover over this vert so it snaps it right in line. I'm going to select it in object mode, go to Edit Mesh, Merge, give it a tolerance of 0.001, click Merge, and those guys are merged. So now we just kind of have to clean up the base down here, so kind of quad it out and not get like a spiral looping pattern going through the rest of this. I just noticed I probably could have made this a little bit more low res. We're gonna roll with this, but in the last video, I think I made it divided by 8. So we're just dealing with a lot more complexity here. But we should be able to make this work. So I'm going to just kind of pull this guy forward a bit. And let's append a polygon. Let's append from here to here to kind of finish capping that off. And then let's double click here, and that should select a loop around the end. And then let's extrude that. So we hit W, bring this guy down. And scale this in. So what we could do, this is all quads. This might flow a little weird through here, so we'll hit the 3 key and check it out. It's actually not too bad, and it's holding, because we use so much detail, it's holding that circular pattern really well. So let's hit 1 and go to vertex and just grab these 3 verts right here and shift right click average verts. So I'm just going to run that a couple times, and I have mine set to 1, so if you haven't done that already from past videos, what you want to go to is edit mesh and look for average vertices. Go into your options and set your smoothing amount to 1. And then all you have to do is just keep hitting G. So if we look from the side, I'm just trying to get a taper to this. So I'll select these 3 verts holding down shift to select, hit G a couple times, do the same here. I can even taper these guys. Alright, so, and you could even count like how many times you're doing this with each and just do it, maybe 1 less each time you go away from the threading. But we just want that to taper to the end of the thread, just so it looks more realistic. So exactly what we did down here, we want to come up top and do that as well. So this is kind of finished off. I'm going to grab this vertex, hit W and bring it out so it aligns with this guy. I could even hold down V, grab this handle, and then just hover over this, and I know they're perfectly in line. I'm going to go to object mode, shift right click, append poly, here to here. There we go, hit enter or return to exit out of that tool. Go to edge, double click that edge so it gives me the edge loop. Shift right click, extrude edge, hit W and bring this up. Scale it. And that finishes that off. You can see the threading stops pretty much right by the edge, so I'm going to put this guy right here. So let's look at this in top view. Alright, so this is where that kind of the shaft or the non-threaded area of the bolt is going to start. So I'm just going to hit extrude, hit W, and move this up to where the head of the bolt is. And then we're going to cap off the other end. Alright, so that's going to be the top of my bolt. And let's go ahead and double click here, extrude edge, and I'm going to hit R to scale. I'm going to bring in this just a little bit. That's going to be a supporting edge, or a holding edge, you can call it. I'm going to hit G, R, and scale this in more. G, R, scale it in. G, R, scale it in. And I'm really just, I want to get this close together, and then we're going to kind of finish or cap it off. G, R, and I may have made this difficult for myself because I didn't choose like 8, 16, or 32 for my numbering. But we'll see how easy or difficult this is. G, R, and let's just do one more. There we go. So the goal to cap this off is going to be to kind of append between these guys. So we could, well, let's count and see how many we have. 1, 2. Actually, let's look. We made this. So we had 50. And again, we can't change this anymore. And I don't think the number's going to end up yielding us what we need. Well, maybe, because we added that extra one in. So let's try this. So, and this is probably good for you guys to watch because I'm kind of problem solving as we go. So I'm going to extrude this in one more time all the way. So those guys kind of scale together. And then with those selected, because only those edges are selected, I'm going to shift right click, and I'm going to I want to end up merging these guys. So we're going to merge collapse edges, merge edges to center, and those should all be merged verts now. And then what you can do, just like we did before, is select, I'm going to hit Q for easier selection, just holding down shift, and I'm selecting every other one of these. Oh, and then, see, it doesn't work out. So I'm going to hit delete. We're ending up with one non-quad in here. So again, if you kind of follow from the last video, and honestly that triangle's hidden and it's so small that's the type of area that it's not going to be as big of a deal. So in the last screw video we ended up with 2 triangles. We're going to end up with 2 triangles again, just in a different area. So just sort of keep that in mind. Notice what edges close together can give us as well. So I'm going to actually grab all these faces and delete them, because I can already see that's going to be an issue. And let's hit the 1 key so this is no longer in smooth mode. I'm going to go to edge mode, double click here, and let's just fix this. So shift right click and circularize components. There. Move this a little further, and now let's shift right click and extrude and hit W. Let's just move this up a little bit as kind of a buffer or hold. G, W. Let's move this up a bunch, and now let's hit the 3 key, click off it, and now we're not having that issue there. So that's good. So let's hit 1. And let's select this edge loop one more time. Shift right click extrude, hit W, and in the top view, just move that to match where the screw's gonna kind of meet up on the outside of that bracket. Alright, so now we need to start making the screw head. We could make the head as a separate piece, but because of the complexity that we're already starting with here, it's probably going to be easier to do this through a couple extrudes. So let's look at our side view here, and see about how big the head of the screw is. So I'm going to hit G, which runs extrude again. I'm going to hit R to scale. I'm going to start scaling that guy up to about there. I can see that matches the size of the screw head. So I can move it over to double check it. In fact, let's do that. I'm going to hit W, and select this in object mode. Yep, so that matches. So let's move it kind of back to where it matches the hole. I'm going to go to edge mode and top view, and let's extrude this one more time. So I can hit G and then W. We just extruded, and then we'll bring that to kind of where it matches there. Now there's a roundness to the head of this screw. So what I'm actually going to do is in the top view, if I hit 4 so I can see through this, I'm going to shift right click. Let's select an object mode first. Shift right click, and I'm going to drop an edge right here where I see that highlight changing. I know that surface kind of rounds inward. So now I can select that outer edge loop and scale that in just a little bit. And let's extrude that one more time. So G, and then I'm going to hit, actually let's undo. We must have ran a different tool last time, so G's not going to work. So shift right click, extrude edge, hit R, let's scale that in to about here. So that's looking pretty good. We want to look at the side view again and see about what the distance is for where that line or where the screwdriver is going to fit in. And I'd say it's about 3 faces wide. So I'm going to come here, go to face mode, hit Q for easier selection. Just kind of 3 faces wide, I'm going to delete these guys, and then on the exact kind of opposite side we'll do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and delete those. So this is how kind of the screw is going to get, or the screw head's going to go through there, right? So let's select one of these verts and hit F, because I'm having trouble kind of rotating around that, but that should help us out. And let's see, I would append all the way across. So shift right click, append a polygon, and I'm going to go from here to here. I'm going to hit G and go from here to here, hit G, go from here to here. So that gets us all the way across. Now we want polygons going up and down, so I'm going to actually insert edge loops and try to match kind of where the top goes on each of those. And it probably would have been easier if I would have came in this view, because you can see I dropped one of them in the wrong spot. So I'm going to Z back, go to object mode, shift right click, go to insert edge loop. I'm going to drop that guy right there. So the first one I got was in the right spot, the second one wasn't. So always make sure that you're jumping between views to make sure these are going in the right spot. So now I can append a polygon. I'm going to go from here to here. Oops. Hit delete to go back if you select the wrong edge. Then hit G and go from here to here. Hit G and go from here to here. And hit G here to here. Hit return to kind of cancel all that tool. Excellent. Now these guys are going to go straight across, so actually let's hit G to run that again, because we're making that channel that the screwdriver is going to fit inside of. And now we can hit return. And that's looking pretty good. So we're going to have to get essentially quadded out edges running through here. So to make these pieces quads right here, that's going to be the harder part, and then we should be able to just run kind of edges straight across. But these first ones are where we have to kind of pay the most attention. So I'm going to drop an edge loop right there and about the same distance on the other side. And we'll go to the append tool. And if we go from here to here, you can see that's actually a quad. And it's kind of turning the loop outward. So we want to be careful with these. If we're putting the right holding edges in, we're going to be able to make that look fine. But if you don't have enough geometry, those can lead to like kind of weird looking puckers and stuff. So when we're working on, you know, high-res models like this, and we're going to have to smooth them or subdivide them, sometimes we definitely need to add, you know, more geometry to hold that shape and make it look correct. At the end of the day, you also want to think about how far from a camera something is, because that will be kind of how much, it'll tell you how much detail to put into it. Okay. If your computers are slowing down, you can see I have a lot of history on the right, so every now and then it's good to edit, delete by type history, and when we finish our model, we'd always clear the history as well. So now we just have to count the amount of edges we have here and put those evenly in between here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So 18 more edges. So if I go to shift right click, insert edge, and go to the options, we can do multiple edge loops. And I think we said 18. And just plop it there, and I'll put them in kind of evenly spaced. I hope I remembered what I counted correctly, but we'll find out. So if we did it accurately, I can select this. It's going to select the entire edge loop, and hold Control and just deselect these two, and then I can bridge it. So again, yep. So, you know, kind of keeping your math in mind, thinking about things and how before you do it can sometimes really kind of speed up the process. So select the edge loop, deselect those two, kind of the caps that we had before, shift right click, go to bridge. Let's hit W. Let's go to object or edge mode. Oh, okay. I selected an extra edge loop, so let's do that again. Bridge. Polybridge requires equal number of border edges. There should be. It worked on the other side. Let's 1, 2. Or no, sorry. 17. Okay. that's that additional edge that we added in before. So we're going to end up with one triangle on this side as well. And let's see how that ends up looking. So I'm going to append right there. It's going to end it in a triangle. I'm going to select this edge ring, deselect here, shift right click, and I'm going to bridge. Okay, that should have been the same. You know what, I think we needed one extra. That's what's going on. So let's undo. Actually, let's go to face and delete these two faces. Go to objects, shift right click, append. Let's put the triangle right there. Now it should work. So let's go to edge, double click here, control deselect there and there, shift right click, bridge, there we go. So I just wasn't counting right. And that's that head of the screw. These should align kind of going straight through. So we probably want to take this edge and move it. Oops, we don't want that guy or this guy. Move it until it's straight. Same thing here, deselect those two, move it back until it goes straight across. So we want that channel to be kind of as straight as possible. Hit the 3 key, and that's looking pretty good. So the last thing we would do is kind of drop edge loops and kind of clean this up. So oops, let's go to the options for that. So shift right click and go to insert edge loops option, and we just want relative distance from the edge. And you can use equal distance from the edge and it'll drop them directly in the center as well. So insert edge loop. So I'm just going to start evening this out. So that looks pretty good. I want this to hold nice and crisp. So I'm going to put two edges relatively close there, the same distance. I'm going to put one in the center there. Same thing, close to the edge. On that screw head, it looks like this edge right here is somewhat tight as well, so just supporting edges. And let's hit the 3 key, see how all those are holding. So that's looking pretty good. I think we need to hold this a little better. So let's smooth that. 3. That's looking much better. And then the threading should be sharper as well. So the way we laid all of this out, we should be able to insert an edge loop right there, and it should have taken on the other side. Yeah. So since the way we kind of quadded this out, we just have to put a loop like that and it's going to cap it. Just hit yes. So it's pretty dense right now, and that's why I gave me that warning. So I wouldn't have started with as many divisions around it. So when you model it, it's the exact same workflow, but the thing that I did wrong is when we create polygon primitives, and you go to helix, polyhelix, don't do 50 here. I'd do 32 max, and probably 16 is in all actuality going to be enough. If you really want to, actually 32 might be better to get the screw head here and really hold that detail. So I'd do 32 or try 16. But that gives you the machined screw. So we're going to show, isolate, select, take off that view selected. Just kind of make sure it's going through the hole. That screw head's kind of butting up against the bracket, not like going through it anywhere. Cool. I think it actually has to shrink down a little bit to fit. So let's shrink it, smooth it. There we go. So the final thing we would want to do is modify center pivot, modify freeze transforms, so zeroing all that out, and then the last command, edit, delete by type history, getting rid of all the history inside of here. Bracket underscore bolt, right? So always kind of naming that. So in past videos, I may not have gone through the naming. So just make sure that you are going back and doing that. So that's a solid bolt. I will say in the past I have seen students kind of cheat the bolt by using 2 pieces. Just know that for what we're doing in this class, we're not going to accept that, because I want you to kind of know how to do things the hard way and it'll visually look more accurate. So they take a cylinder and then they spin the helix around it and everything's not connected together. I can notice it right away and you will get marked off for it. So if you kind of take the easy way out, just know that you're losing points and it doesn't count as modeling this bolt.